bothering for some of you today. And so we begin. Welcome, brothers and sisters. Before we continue our conversation, we want to bring up a point, a courtesy concerning the body. We hope that you two enjoyed yourselves this morning.
Yes.
Good. When it comes to that type of activity, there is much to see of. It is one of the best parts of having the body. We remember those experiences greatly and enjoyed them. So should you. Explore, have fun. However, for the male body, when it goes through those changes, the after effect of the body recovering from that does not leave us much energy to work with. So perhaps it would be wise not to do that on the same day or just before our arrival.
That's fair.
We will attempt to adjust the energy, but the meeting may be shorter today for clarity purposes if the energy dips. So, we want to begin where we left off. Do you have an answer to the question we gave you?
Yeah, the nature of my mind, I don't know how to explain it because it's mental. If I explain it's mental, but I don't know if you can tap into what I'm experiencing now.
You can. The same way you could choose to tap into the energy we are experiencing now. It is how we communicate. Everyone.
It seems natural.
Because it is.
I said seems. Haha.
And therein lies the issue. But please, the best that you can do, and understand, we don't need you to intellectualize it for us, and you don't need to intellectualize it for those listening. What we are asking is for you to state your truth. The energy that you hold within that moment will emanate from that. So there does not need to be a before comparison, a now comparison, and a hope for the future comparison. As they say, simply state your truth. We look to our brother and we ask, understanding that experience of being in the moment, of losing track of time, losing track of the task list, and being in that pure experience, what does that state about your true mind?
We're not here to do things to make us happy. We express our innate joy through doing and through the body. It's that joy, that the joy that you can tap into and it flows.
Okay.
It's instead of I have to do this, it's I get to do this because I'm expressing this wellspring of joy.
Okay. So you touched on doing, but that does not answer the question posed, which is, what does that state about your true mind?
It's like a joy. It's joy. It's a wellspring. I don't know how else to explain it. A wellspring. It's like tapping into a wellspring.
Did you create it?
No, it was It was just turning my eyes towards the direction of the wellspring.
So, thank you. That gets us closer to the truth about your true mind. We will point out what you have not declared yet and what you are not ready to declare is that is the source of your mind. And that brings up several issues immediately. Issues that are resolved if you truly and wholly. One moment.
Goliath. Yes, I see you. Now's not the time. Thank you. I'm in the middle of something here. Thank you. No, not now. Later. Lay down.
Lost to the flame. If you accept that energy and accept the premise that this is the truth of your true mind, immediately it begins a transformation of everything else. And understand the importance of that statement. When you deal with problems in the physical plane, you calculate, you list, you plan, you maneuver, you think of all of the possibilities, and you move them all around, very much like that classic game where there's only one space, and you flip the tiles over and then flip another one up, and you're trying to lock on to a pattern.
I know what you're talking about, yes.
And you move it to the right, you move it to the left, you move it up, you move it down. And it's not fluid. It seems fluid from a very limited perspective. For the group mind of humanity, they are growing bored with such games. They want it to be more fluid. They want it to be faster. They want it to be more expressive and free. And the answer lies in that moment. Because when you accept that light as I am, no reason why, nothing to do, nothing to improve, nothing to build upon. You accept it and harmonize with it as a true state of being. It immediately makes the other state false. It rearranges. Because that state of mind now shines through your thoughts, perceptions, and emotions. But the difference here is the purpose behind the acceptance. Because you are willing it to happen by the laws of energy, all of this must rearrange. All of this must now match the energy flowing through. And finally, the telescope has reversed and you're looking through it with the correct angle that it was intended. The purpose of the vehicle, the purpose of the experience is for that light to shine through, to express it, to create with it, to be with it, to give it away. Because you can't understand that energy until you give it away. That is its purpose. It extends. Does that make sense?
Very much so. I brought up to David something I heard about the Hindu concept of the Godhead, that life is a drama and we come here to express ourselves, which is we're here to express ourselves through personas in this drama of life, which is very different from how most of us in the West are raised up. Where we're raised, you have to check these boxes so that you're okay in the afterlife. Whereas there's idea of we are here to play out a drama and we're here in a dance. And when I experienced this wellspring, walking and listening to music, moving around and lip syncing, even though I couldn't understand the lyrics, felt natural. It was natural. It's like we said last time, relaxing the body and letting it flow. And it really makes sense what you were saying, because I tied it to, this is a wellspring and I can extend it through astrology, through talking to people, through teaching, through having fun with others. It's an expression. That's how you share that wellspring. But it's not really sharing my wellspring. It's like, hey, we all have this. We all have this. Look at me. It's so hard to put this into words.
Exactly. Because it's an experience. You gain an appreciation when we come through and are asked questions on how to formulate and pick words and expressions to try to put it in perspective for something that has none and never will. So you are correct that words does not describe it. Let us go back to the idea for the Hindu religion of the Godhead, and now include all religions into the pot. And there they are. Each of them describe a spiritual principle. Each of them use words to describe an energy that cannot be described by words. It is an experience.
As you stumble on words.
Correct. Besides the lack of energy, we are also dealing with the electrical storm, which does have an effect on channeling.
I did not know that. Sorry to sidetrack. That's interesting. This physical phenomenon affects you?
Energy within energy. Why would it not? When lightning happens and it's close enough, do you not feel your aura pulse as it goes through?
Yes.
Its energy affected your energy.
I like it.
The body modulates.
Okay.
And when it modulates, it changes frequency. So for us, it is like trying to go ahead and lock onto a radio station that's, for a very brief second, modulating between 5. And then trying to understand what the commercial was really selling. So it can be a bit challenging to modulate. Not impossible, but challenging. So, okay, we have this pot with all of the religions. The basis of them, if you look at them objectively, is that it's a spiritual idea, a framework, and a structure to work, to hold a concept, to grasp its meaning, and from there, get a general idea of a direction inward. They all state in one way or another, go inward. It's what comes after the comma that becomes the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because in comes the judgment. In comes the have-tos. In comes the you better. Comma again, or consequence. and one way or another, they hold something against you.
It's conditional.
It's either going to be burn in hell. That's the obvious one. Let's get that out of the way.
One-way ticket.
It's going to be suffer karmic or soul damage of having to come back countless lifetimes and waste time. And then comes the lack of development idea. So our issue with explaining these terms within any religion is that they are not fit to explain it. They never were. They were and are a framework to work within, to get an understanding as simple as that way. A post sign. Each of the religions, when you read it per rote, there are certain aspects that will illuminate within you because you know that truth already. At some point or time in your experience, you have discovered that truth. And so when words capture that energy, you sing. And the consciousness as it is now looks to the book and says, oh, it came from you. It can no longer come from that book than it could from your drink.
Is that what is meant by mistaking the finger pointing to the moon as the moon?
Correct. We bring this subject up many times within our book, Finding the Inner Self, because it is an attempt to finally get the mind of humanity to realize they've been looking in the wrong direction for the answer the entire time. They're so busy looking at who is pointing and the emphasis of what's being pointed at, that they don't realize no matter what they point to, it can't give you that experience. It's not the way God created it. But there are many that point that finger for many purposes, whether it be shame, whether it be guilt, whether it be anger, whether it be accusation, because all of those things go into your religions depending upon the time, place, and situation. Would have the person believe that that is the point of the point. Pay attention to me. And as in the book, we say over and over again, as well with channel messages, other channel meetings, any time a being sits before you and in any way, shape, or form emulates, they are the answer. If you just pay attention to me, you are being misled. Always the answer should be, just pay attention, you. If we or I honor what God created, it is impossible for you to honor God the way that comes through me. Only out of the multiplex of the universe that you see before you, all the different myriads of life, the two sitting before us, the plants behind us, the trees outside, the bugs, the ants underneath the house, the snake that lives off the far corner. All of those, that life, each connect to that grace with its own unique frequency. And that frequency has full range to consciously grow in whatever direction it chooses. It chooses. It's not a question on whether or not humanity is growing. It has always been a question on whether or not humanity is consciously aware they have the option and power. And it's the only question whether we're channeling now or 1,000 years from now. It's going to be the same question. It was the same question in the 60s. It was the same question the Buddha posed. It was the same question Muhammad posed. And so on and so forth. So, but back to the religions.
I want to for listeners at home to piggyback off what you said. There's the ideas of people going to spiritual teachers, centers, workshops. You know where I'm going with this, and they want to experience this. They want to experience that wellspring. I'm just going to call it wellspring. They want to experience that wellspring, but they expect the guru, the teacher, or the ritual, or the attunement to give them that experience. And I've been on that side, and it's like, no, you just get unexperienced, but it's not. It's like, it's not it. You have to go there. You have to shift your eyes and find the wellspring yourself. I can't give it to you. You can't give it to me.
You cannot perceive the frequency that God created when it created us. You can experience it as we demonstrate it and extend it. But that is us creating with it. It is not the amicable moment when that energy meets our inner self and there's a connection. It is impossible for you to experience that. You can only experience your own. That's what you are searching for. That's what you're looking to experience. And no matter how many times everyone looks at the picture of the butterfly ink blot, we will always perceive it slightly differently. We cannot completely agree on anything. But what else would the most creative of the creative create than different aspects of itself? The blessing of the gift given is that you have the free will to paint with it as you would choose.
Just like Bob Ross.
And all of these facts have been told to you many times before. This is nothing new. And still we wait. When will you accept that gift? When will you take responsibility of that gift? You talk of the wellspring, but you have not declared with absolute freedom, I am the wellspring. I am the wellspring. You are still unsure about who and what you are, and because of this, you do not know your mind. And because of that, you don't have the focus yet to stand within that energy and allow it to cleanse everything away. To begin the process as, for your minds would call, liberation. You're not liberating anything. There is nothing to liberate from. You are accepting. You are accepting the gift that you did not create, that was already given. There is nothing esoteric about it. We would like to point out the overall logic of using terms like wellspring. Well-meaning. It means something for you. It's your particular angle. And it starts a religion. And now God is only known as it flows through a person. The fact of it flowing through a person is forgotten about. Because for the group mind, we are not part of. We are trying to be deemed worthy of. So we cut that part out. The wellspring becomes a new word for God. and you become the holder of that light because you are the example. And you have everyone coming to you for your blessing on helping them achieve the wellspring. This is how religions were started. And all of it demeans your light and angle within that energy. It demeans it. We have said this before in our book, Finding the Inner Self, as well as with other writings, and we will say it again with clarity so people can understand the purpose and intent and way that we say it. And there are many people that work in this way. We are not saying this to demean their work or the good that they do from it and with it, or the good that people have received from it. But understand creation. If I presented a 6-sided dice to the public, and the public believed so much that Ná Theial cannot do anything wrong, he is divine. He walks on water. He makes unlimited breadsticks and offers unlimited fish nights. And can we talk about the unlimited wine? So I could do no wrong. And I put a 6-sided dice in front of the public and then called it sacred. It is our gift to you of heaven on earth as if in heaven. This is sacred. And when you touch it and pray with it, it will heal you. It is a magician's trick. There have been times for different evolutions of a person's mind, but that is required. It's required. Because at least they can grow. At least they have a believable option according to their mind that they can travel. The sacred 6-sided die.
I see where yeah.
And we laugh because we wonder how many people that are going to listen to this are going to say, can I have that for D&D?
That's kind of what I thought.
We felt that. So there is nothing wrong with that. It's like a child believing in Santa Claus.
I see what you're saying. It's part of it's part of that person's evolution, knowing
Correct.
there is more.
Correct. But there comes a point in time, which is what we are saying and teaching, of putting the toys away. For those who would listen and attempt to grasp the meaning. And so now we will say what we have said previously. You do not need your DNA resequenced. You do not need ascension energy. There is nothing to change. You are not lacking in any way, shape, or form for spiritual growth. You can choose, as your terms would be, to liberate right now in this instant and shed your illusions and stand before us in all of your glory as our brother, as God created. And the truth of the matter is, you may choose to form sister. Or you may switch them. Nothing is set in stone. You have access to that all. But whatever you choose to express yourself from that state can happen right now. Why? Such a fabulous statement. Should it be put into a greeting card? Perhaps a plaque on the wall. Something to read while you brush your teeth in the morning to remind you of sacredness. It's another 6-sided die. It's understanding what God created. And that leads us always back to you. It's your only point of perception within this universe. It must come through you. It's the only perception you have. Because that's what keeps us in existence. Is that energy flowing through us in union, in harmony, in completeness. And that is something greater to aspire to put away the toys and recognize the dice for what it was. Now, for those who believe they need their DNA resequenced, and they go into that initiation and into that healing, do they have amazing experiences? Yes, yes, they do. Does their mind expand? Yes, yes, it does. Does it feel like energy flows through blocks in a more freeful way? Yes, yes, it does. And for many, it fades directly after, because they're no longer in contact with that flow. And so the mind reverts itself, some quickly, some slowly, and they're back to where they were before the healing. But it felt great during that interim. And for some, it creates a lifelong change. And they accept that. Why would Spirit take issue with this? Because they're still following the finger pointing to the moon. Next comes ascension energy. If you can just channel that ascension energy, it will change who and what you are. Nothing can change who and what you are but you. Period. God can't even do that. Will not do that. God has never overwhelmed one of our wills. If we wanted to become a dictator and take over a country and then other countries and put people to death in a massive way, how hard can we make this vision? Did God come stop it once? In comes a tornado, destroys the building that they are in. Oh, the wrath of God. Even in what is occurring now on your planet, with hurricanes rising in intensity and in force, and hitting the low-lying sea level areas, there's a mass of your population that says, God did this because. And the most humorous part about it is that you wait a year later and find out that their area got hit by another hurricane and suffered the same consequences. God seems to be a really giving guy lately. He's been busy, and he's not pleased at all. He's just indiscriminately targeting everyone. That would make the group mind of humanity screwed. And you have history to show that you truly believe that. That God struck us down. And again, the lack of responsibility we consistently speak of. No one takes responsibility for the fact of what they're actually driving, how often they drive it, the options that are available to stop the effect. No responsibility or accountability. Better to blame God, if you wish. But it's always your hand on the trigger. Perhaps a new way of being is called to order. For you, you are not at the point of stepping into that wellspring and instead of naming it an outside source, stating, I am.
I was feeling it the last few, I don't know, felt like hours, but minutes.
You had said to your partner that your mind had kicked up and said the counterpoint that this is ego, to bring up doubt, to make you feel like you're imagining this. And there was moments of sitting with that and believing it.
And I was just having those moments.
Correct. So when we say what we say about this subject, it's not that you should, you must, or you should have. It's your mind. And understand Spirit's point of view. You cannot die. You cannot not exist. No matter what you do on this planet, there will be others. You will come back yet again for the physical experience because that's what draws you. You'll get this. There's no place else to go.
There's, with the doubt, it's like my mind, and a lot of people can relate to this, my mind has been conditioned that I am wrong. Even to the point that what was infallibly experienced, and I experience like in waves, now it's like biting your nail. My brain just automatically doubts. No, you're inflating your ego. No, you're inflating your ego. It seems like it's breaking the habit of biting your nails, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And with this, no, like, this is it. This is it. And then the doubt comes. I'm biting my nail again.
And it's going to be that way for a while. There are those we want to make clear because we don't want what we are saying under the assumption, again, just to be clear, that you must, you should have, or you should. It's a choice. Take as long as you need. But as long as you're believing in something long, you're still within time, which means you are not in your right mind. So, in this situation, again, as we've talked about in what you've read from Finding the Inner Self, there are only two choices: love or fear. Who is the observer? The observer is present in both. What's the difference? What you believe reality is based upon. And either choice, you're defining yourself. So we go back to what you said, that you're in that moment. And yes, this is it. And then doubts creep in. And you, as a group, love the expression of the angel on one shoulder, the devil on the other, both of them constantly whispering. And as the Native Americans would say, which wins? It depends on which one you feed. It's a choice, but not from the standpoint of a task list, because that's not how it happens in the moment when you create it. And that's why we've been teaching you about knowing when the creation first emanates, and then the physical construct begins.
It's that moment right before an aha.
Correct.
It's that space.
But you also have a moment before you step into fear. Something occurs, and it's a choice. It's a choice of self-definition. And let us explain it this way to keep it simple. So we are in our moment, and we see and experience that doorway, that harmonizing energy, where the Godhead and the Self meet and join. We did not create this. We cannot change it, that connection. We can give the illusion, as you're doing right now, that it is changed, that it is broken, that it's not what it seems, which is an illusion. No matter how many lifetimes you choose to take, whenever you step back into that wellspring, it's still there as it was created. Still waiting your acceptance. So you get a lifetime where, you know what, I've been dancing around this fire long enough. I want to choose what you call the wellspring. That's it. No questions asked. There are those of you for you on the planet, and we have given this example before, like Eckhart Tolle, where he stepped in and chose never to step out. And everyone looks to him as an extreme example, extreme, a rarity. And truly it is. But we are more interested in the common. Do you know how many have had the same moment as he did and stepped out of it? Have you not had that experience?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Has not our son had that experience?
Yeah.
How many listening have had that experience? It is so common. And everyone kowtows to the rare, without looking at the fact that if it's available, it can happen for me anytime. How do I tune back into that? How do I become aware again? Because that is the truth. And therein lies the issue. The reason why it's so common, step in, step out, and so rare, is because Eckhart Tolle said, this is the truth and I am. No more questions. And if you read his readings, when people approach him with issues, and they are creative, they love describing them to make them unique and special, to get a special answer from the master, to be able to get something that's going to be personalized for them. And what does he say? You just stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop it. And this goes back to that comedic routine for therapy.
It's true.
And there is a grand spiritual truth there. But here's the missing element. The engine that makes it run. And what is this engine? You connecting to that source of light, whatever it is that you may choose to call it.
It's not outside of me though. It's like the light is separating it from me. It's
correct, but we will state it again. Look at your verbiage. It. It replies to what? A person, place, or thing. You did not say I am. And that is why you're missing your engine. without the understanding of I am, it still becomes something outside of you.
Yes, I am. I am flow. I am this. And the doubts are the questions. But this is so real.
Now, understand what we're saying on the engine. I apologize, we don't mean to cut you off, but we don't want to drift off this because we've been working hard to line this up for you. So, you accept the wellspring as I am. No more questions. That doesn't mean you're not going to have questions. Oh, it's nice when an Eckhart Tolle experience happens to a being. But understand, he had many lifetimes and experiences to build to that moment. You do too. You do too. So, you're in that state of I am, and you have that realization, as our son would crudely say, from balls to bone, that this is it. Whatever it is, I am. And you relate to that. Along comes a doubt. They're not going to disappear. There's still a pattern of energy in your mind. And so they're going to do what they do. Now here is the difference. Is that it presents its case. Mansoor, you know you, of all people, couldn't possibly experience something as valid as this. You must got it wrong. Take a look. What did you get wrong? Now, your mind goes, what? I got something wrong? Let me examine that. If then, possibly, you stepped out of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're grounded in that experience as your basis of reality, you have made a declaration to the universe of statement of self. That doesn't mean there's not going to be challenges by people, places, and things. But you've anchored yourself into an experience. And now in comes the doubts. And you feel yourself being pulled from that energy. And you simply go, just stop. Just stop. It doesn't matter who, what, where, why, or when, you lie. I choose. And all of this is happening in the moment creation begins to spring. That place that we've been talking to you about, of understanding not when it becomes into the point of the after effects of swallowing live coals and all of the if-then statements that occur from it, but from the moment the coal starts going near your mouth, no, and you knock the hand away. Well, what about no, it doesn't matter.
Easy as that. Easy. Boom.
And think back to the lesson. Second one, we believe? No. No. Understand the purpose of the lesson. It's not from practicing saying no. It's from practice of choosing, as you would say, the wellspring as your reality. Regardless of anything. Does not matter. And notice the word play. Matter, which makes up everything physical, does not matter. Because matter realigns by choice.
What do you mean?
We will use the example our son used yesterday with those group of young men. he said, eventually you're going to realize that you attract men and people and situations that physically put you down
Mm-hmm.
because their only purpose is to match the energy you hold within, or your inner dialogue to yourself. And that when you kick that inner dialogue out, when you finally get the point that it's not about kicking abusive people in your life out, while that is a step within growth, the actual point was kicking out the real abuser, which is the voice inside your head that constantly puts you down, constantly makes you doubt, constantly makes you worthless. No matter what garb you put on, it would have you convinced that you put a gown on a pig, throw on some pearls, and send it into the party. That voice, that energy. And all of these outside situations is matching that internal dialogue that you allow to stay within your mind. And when you change the internal dialogue, immediately you stop attracting people that represent that physically to you. And new people come in that actually give you a compliment, a well-deserved one. And you learn how to accept with grace someone's attention in a healthy way. Spotting the good things, the healthy things, the fun things. So which came first, the chicken or the egg? Was it the physical that changed the inner, or did the inner change the outer? And we do that on a small scale that you can understand for practical principles in your life. If you have any spiritual type of growth, you have some experience with this. It may not be as grand, but it has to be on some level, or else why are you saying so many positive affirmations? What's the point? What are you trying to achieve? To change the inner so that the outer instantly changes. Manifestation of abundance. Though we hate that term. We do not like it.
Why not?
Because it limits manifestation and creativity in the modern day term that it's only good for accumulating wealth, people, places, and things in a very impersonal way.
As opposed to, like with David, an abundance of a relationship that feeds back and forth. That's not a physical, material wealth. That's a, hey, you deserve a healthy relationship. You choose a healthy relationship.
That is correct. And so,
remember that, David. You are abundant.
do not distract him. Let the sleeping dog lie. So, to continue, it's understanding on a greater principle that that law of energy doesn't change when you accept what God created. And again, we're comfortable using that term. As we have said in the book, Finding the Inner Self, you can look at God or the universe and not have to call it that at all. It is not necessary. It's not required. It doesn't expect it. But through your spiritual growth, eventually you're going to find an intelligence behind everything. And it has a wicked sense of humor. It is very playful and interactive. And so you're going to realize there's a consciousness there. But each to their own. but we did not want to offset people that don't believe in that term. But for us, when you connect to that energy, and you accept that space, your own personal state of I am, and you realize no more questions. There is only one purpose left, and it is the same purpose that we are currently experiencing. You asked us, how did you get rid of the body experience? We just answered it for you. And no matter how long you wait, it will still be the same choice before you. When you accept that state of I am and that connection from you to the universe and allow it to flow through you in demonstration, and understand anything else is really a lack of meaning for you. Interesting, sure. An experience, absolutely. But nothing will make you light up like that moment.
Like this.
What do you mean by that?
This. I don't know how long we've been going, but it's this. This. I am this, like, this experience right now. No words.
And
do you not feel it or experiencing it?
we experience it on a much deeper level, if that puts it into proper perspective. And that's our point to you. At some point in time, we made the same decision. And when we did, we then went through the process of clearing out what you think is an impossible mountain to climb, which is your societal tendencies of what you've been programmed to think. Not just this life, but all your lives. There is a reason why the Buddha was quoted as being able to say that he can tune into whatever past life it had. Because it was in the process of joining all of that energy into oneness. Because love transfers and transforms energy faster and at a far greater rate than you can comprehend. Nothing is impossible. And when you choose to stand in that doorway, the side effect, as that energy now flows through you, it flows through your mind, your emotions, and instantly transforms what's there. Small at first. A situation, perhaps. But as you gain ability to ground within that experience and allow it to deepen at a faster and faster rate, your mind transforms. And yes, suddenly you are on hosting unlimited wine, fish, and breadstick night. Miracles will occur. It is a natural side effect. It's not the sign of divinity. It's the sign of accepting your own. Because it was already given, you did not create it, and you only have one choice: to choose to allow it to flow through you. After that, there is a universe of fun. How would you choose to express that? How would you choose to experience that? How can you give that away? a world, universes within universes, to explore the depth of what God created. And we, being spirit, are still exploring it. And so to answer your question from the second conversation, what was it that gave us the experience of no longer having a body form? And we had told you and explained that if you could experience this, and that was truly your goal, would that form not begin to limit you?
But yes, it begs the question I'll ask next time actually, about why we even took on this physical form and quote unquote ended up forgetting. And I think I've asked David since I've known him, and he's tried to explain it. And I think you've tried to explain it in the book, and it never sank in.
So we will go deeper, but we will table that one and save it for the next time.
Because I think there's a lot that goes into that.
Yes, that would be another hour into itself. So, what we want to summarize here before we go. You are not yet ready to say, I am. There is no shame with that. It gives you an understanding of the purpose of what you would call the wellspring. And clear outlines so that you can hold yourself accountable of walking forward or not. And if you don't want to, why not? And understand, there is no shame with that. Our son was at the point of joining that, and then decided that there was physical experiences he wanted that he could no longer get if he completed that union. And while he did not have the exact words as to exactly what those experiences were, he was struck with an overwhelming sense of that this was important for his soul's growth to have them. And so he stepped out of that communion to continue to serve, to continue to be available, while seeking certain experiences, physical ones, that he wanted within the constructs of what you call life here. There is no right or wrong. There is only the choice. But you have been knocking on the door, looking for answers. And so we give them to you. And when you finally are able to make the choice of standing within that space and understanding I am, and accepting that space on whatever level you can, it is then that we can have a conversation of understanding will, and then understanding true will. Because at this point in time, your will still flips back and forth, and you believe that when it does flip back and forth, and flips to the illusion, that it's flipping several times over with multiple options. And we will say again, there is actually only one. The rest is a pretty movie on the movie screen. And it does so have you entertained. Enjoy it. And now peace to you.
Thank you.